The topic that I chose to present on was Byron Schofield and the brain injury that sent him to prison. In August of 2010, Byron Schofield was walking with his brother when he was attacked by a seemingly random and unprovoked group of men. Specifically, Byron was struck on the side of his head repeatedly with a hammer. After the attack, Byron was rushed to the hospital where doctors determined that he had a brain hemorrhage and a skull fracture. As a result of this, a part of his skull had to be removed in order to relieve some of the pressure on his brain, and he had to be placed in an induced coma for 3 days. Schofield remained in the hospital for 6 months, and after being discharged, he still suffered from slurred speech, poor memory, and weakness on the entire left side of his body. He also required a full-time carer for the next 2 years before he could live alone. Although Schofield was eventually able to care for himself, 3 months after living alone, he went to a party at a friend's house where he fought a group of men that he said resembled his attackers. The police were called and he was arrested and sent to Leeds prison, where he remained for 7 months until his sentencing hearing. At this time, a representative from the Disabilities Trust argued in court that Byron was not well enough to serve time in prison and requested for him to be sent to a treatment center instead. The court agreed to this, and Byron was sent to the Daniel Yorath House to complete an 18-month suspended sentence. If he tried to leave the treatment center without permission, he was going to be sent back to prison. During treatment, however, Byron was required to undergo neurorehabilitation and physiotherapy. In addition, he needed to be taught how to interact with other people and how to deal with his impulses. Doctors at the facility concluded that at the end of his treatment, Schofield was ready to live on his own again, and that he had regained control over his expression of emotions. However, he still struggled with speech, memory, and the weakness on the left side of his body. Oftentimes, patients who have experienced traumatic brain injury have trouble appropriately handling their emotions or controlling their impulses. Researchers say that this can double your risk of being sent to prison. This graph shows that 40% of the men in Leeds prison had experienced one or more traumatic brain injuries before committing the crime that sent them to prison.